Hello, my friend. You are tired today, and that's completely okay. The day might have been long, noisy, full of tasks and thoughts spinning without pause. But now, it's a different time. A time when everything around you gradually quiets down, and the world seems softer, calmer, warmer. You're where you feel comfortable. In your room, in your cozy world. And right now you can allow yourself to let go of everything that weighed on you during the day. Just feel your body relax. Feel your breathing grow steady and even. You're not rushing anywhere anymore, you owe nothing to anyone. Now it's just you, the silence, and this gentle voice that will quietly tell you a kind, peaceful story. A story that asks for no effort, brings no worry. It's simply here, light as the night breeze outside your window. Everything is okay. You've earned your rest. Allow yourself to relax. To sink into the story. And simply be. Tyler was a perfectly ordinary boy living in a small American suburb. He wasn't a superhero, or a prodigy, or someone everyone at school envied. Tyler was simply himself. And that made him wonderful. He had dark hair, a soft smile, and an amazing ability to notice beauty where others walked right by. He was 10, the most tender age, when you still believe the world is vast and kind, and that every corner might be hiding a little wonder. He lived with his parents in a cozy one-story house with a green lawn by the porch and a large backyard. In that yard grew an old, spreading tree and oak that seemed almost alive. It had stood there so many years that no one could say who first planted it. It seemed to guard the yard's peace, giving shade in summer and, in autumn, generously sharing yellow leaves that rustled underfoot like tiny paper boats. Every morning Tyler had breakfast in the kitchen whose windows looked out on that very oak. He loved to watch sunbeams filter through the branches and lay golden stripes across the grass. Sometimes he saw squirrels darting up the trunk, and sometimes bluebirds landing on the branches, quietly calling to each other. These were simple moments, but for Tyler they were real, alive, important. He wasn't the most popular boy at school. But he wasn't trying to be. He had his own small world, quiet and cozy. Tyler loved to draw. He often brought home pictures, trees, little houses, animals, and of course his backyard. Sometimes he dreamed of becoming an artist or a traveler. "I want to see mountains, forests, the ocean, and huge cities," he told his mom when she tucked him in. But most of all he loved his evening walks. Every day, when the rush of daytime finally faded, Tyler would go out into the backyard and simply look. He would sit beneath the oak or lie right on the grass, close his eyes, and feel the tension leave his body with each breath. The evening cool wrapped him gently, the wind whispered softly through the leaves, and the sky darkened, its first stars appearing. Although Tyler didn't really know what meditation was, he did it intuitively. He allowed himself to be calm. To simply breathe. To feel the ground beneath his back supporting him. To feel how the whole world wasn't in a hurry at all. And he understood this was happiness. Real. Simple, pure, and available to anyone. But few people know how to notice it. Tyler's parents noticed, too. They liked that their son could be calm, that he could build his own little island of quiet in a noisy world. Sometimes his mom would step out onto the porch, lean on the railing, and watch him. It seemed to her that this tree, this yard, this habit made Tyler special. He grew not only clever, but attentive and sensitive. He knew that little things matter. And one day, after an especially difficult day, which we'll learn about soon, Tyler went into the yard again. He didn't know that something would happen that night which would forever change how he saw the world. But even if he had known, he would have come anyway. Because the night and the tree were always waiting for him. And he always came. The town where Tyler lived was one of those places you rarely see on TV or read about in books. Not because it was boring, but because it was truly quiet, without the rush of big cities, without loud events, without crowds hurrying somewhere every minute. It was a typical American suburb, houses set a respectful distance apart, green lawns, and a wide road where an occasional lone car would pass. Tyler's house stood at the edge of this peaceful neighborhood. It was a street with only a handful of houses, each with its own fence and tidy lawn. In summer the lawns were lush green, and in winter they lay under fluffy white snow, beneath which the earth seemed to fall asleep so it could awaken again in spring. Neighbors knew each other here. If someone walked by, they always nodded, sometimes smiled, sometimes even stopped to chat about the weather, about small things, about something simple but important. Sometimes someone brought an apple pie or helped unload a car. That was the atmosphere, not intrusive, but friendly. Peaceful, like a warm evening when, after a long day, you can sit on the porch and watch the sun go down. The town had just one school, one grocery store, one bakery, and a small park with a lake where people walked their dogs, rode bicycles, or simply sat on the grass. On weekends there were fairs with lemonade, homemade jam, and hand-poured candles. And in autumn the whole park turned into a golden forest, leaves spiraling in the air like little suns. In that park Tyler loved to watch the ducks. He often went there with his dad, tossed crumbs into the water, and watched the ripples while the ducks glided along the shore. Those moments were something special to him, not loud or bright, but quiet and warm, like an embrace. Minutes of true peace when you don't need to hurry or prove anything, just to be. Evenings in this town were special too. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the air cooled and thin threads of chimney smoke rose above rooftops. People drew the curtains, turned on lamps, and ate dinner with their families. Beyond the fences you could hear the clink of plates, gentle laughter, the click of televisions. It felt like an invisible, soothing blanket of calm settled over the whole town. But the most beautiful part began when dusk fell and night arrived. In the quiet, you could clearly hear crickets chirp and the soft murmur of wind in the tree branches. Streetlights laid a gentle glow across the roads, leaving dark islands in between. On nights like this Tyler went into his backyard, where his favorite place awaited, the old oak. That oak was like an extension of the town, calm, reliable, with roots sunk deep into the earth. No one disturbed it or tried to uproot it. It had stood there for as long as the town remembered. Many children had grown up beside it, played in its shade, then grown older and moved on with their lives. But Tyler kept coming. Because this town, this tree, this yard, meant more to him than just places. They were his world. A world where he felt safe. Where he felt calm. Where he could be himself. And even if someone might say, "What's so special there? A small town, nothing happens," Tyler would disagree. Sometimes the most important thing isn't events at all, but the atmosphere. The simple feeling that everything is okay. That you feel good. That the world around you demands nothing but that you live, breathe, and look at the sky. That was his world, unhurried, kind, and filled with the quiet beauty you can only see when you're not rushing inside. And in such an atmosphere, real magic begins, not fairy tale magic, with talking fireflies and miracles, but real, living, gentle magic. The kind that opens only to those who know how to slow down. Each of us has a place where we feel especially calm. For some it's a cozy corner of a room, for others a riverbank where you can listen to the water. For Tyler, that place was his backyard. Not just a patch of grass and a fence, but a whole little world that began right beyond the back door and stretched to the big old oak standing in the center. That oak was special. Tall, wise, with a strong, broad trunk that held dozens, if not hundreds, of stories. Its roots went so deep into the ground that it seemed to know everything: how spring arrives, how summer fades, how autumn rustles, and how winter falls asleep. The oak had witnessed generations pass, watched children grow, watched them become adults and move on, while it remained a quiet guardian of the yard. For Tyler, the oak was more than a tree. It was his most reliable friend. When he was little, he tried to wrap his arms around it, but they didn't even reach halfway. Since then it became a game. Each summer he checked, had he grown taller, stronger? But the oak still stood, steadfast and kind. On hot summer days the oak gave saving shade. Tyler brought his sketchbook there, sat in the soft grass, and started to draw, listening to the leaves whisper overhead. Sometimes the wind chased those leaves across the yard, making them dance in sunbeams while Tyler simply watched. He didn't always understand why he felt so calm beside this tree. It was just a feeling, as if everything inside him grew lighter. In autumn the oak changed. Its leaves turned warm golden, copper, amber. They fell to the ground, forming a soft carpet Tyler liked to walk on, listening to the crunch underfoot. He collected the prettiest leaves, traced their veins and lines as if each vein was a road into distant stories. He liked to think the oak gave these gifts not just for beauty but so that someone like him could feel part of nature. But the most special time came in the evening. When the day ended, when there was nowhere to drive Mom and Dad, when homework was done and the house slowly quieted, Tyler went into the yard. At first he simply sat and looked at the sky. Sometimes there were clouds, red with sunset, sometimes the first evening stars, sometimes a deep, rich blue like an endless ocean you could dive into headfirst. Then he would lie on his back, right in the grass, and begin to breathe deeply. 1 exhale. 2 inhale. He noticed how, with each breath, his body grew lighter, the tension left, his heartbeat steady. He didn't know how to relax properly, he just felt that this place helped. The tree seemed to protect him from worries, from thoughts, from noise. It was there, wordless, soundless. And that made it feel even closer. Sometimes their dog ran up, a friendly Labrador named Max. He lay down beside Tyler, muzzle up, and looked at the sky, too. Tyler petted his head and whispered something like, "See, buddy? The world is big. And it's kind. Sometimes you just have to stop to notice." Tyler tried many times to explain why he loved this place. Then he realized there's no need to explain. It was simply his place of strength. A place where he could be real. No noisy thoughts, no rush, no expectations. Just his body, his breath, the earth beneath his back, and the warm wind over his face. And none of this was magical in the fairy tale sense. There were no ancient spells, untouched forests, or dragons. It was ordinary reality. Yet in this simplicity lived true magic, pure, calm, real. Every evening, coming there, Tyler felt like he was coming home, not to bricks and walls, but to feelings and peace. And he knew, no matter how much noise, worry, and rush there was around him, he would always have this place. His oak. His yard. His silence. That day, everything went wrong for Tyler. He woke up a little later than usual, the alarm rang, but he couldn't open his eyes. His dreams had been heavy, and the morning began with a feeling of fatigue. His mom called him to breakfast, but even his favorite chocolate chip cereal didn't lift his mood. His dad, as always, said, "Hurry up, son, we're running late." And Tyler only nodded, though a small, quiet lump already lay heavy in his chest. School felt different that day. Too loud. Too rushed. There was a math test, and though Tyler had studied, the answers vanished. His mind went blank, as if the textbook had evaporated. The teacher looked at him sternly. "Tyler, you know this. What happened?" But what could he say? He didn't understand it himself. He just sat staring at a problem he couldn't solve. Even the pencil felt heavy in his hand. He caught whispers around him, a quiet snicker behind his back, and that made it worse. Then came PE. Tyler didn't like competition, and that day it was basketball. The ball kept slipping away, as if avoiding him on purpose. At one point someone bumped him, not hard, but it stung. He fell, skinned his knee, and as he stood up, everything inside him clenched. The physical pain hurt less than the feeling that the world had piled on top of him at the very moment he wasn't ready. On the way home he walked slower than usual. The street, noisy with cars, felt blinding. The sun stabbed his eyes, conversations rang like clatter. Tyler didn't want to talk to anyone. He wanted silence. Just quiet. He thought, why is everything going wrong today? When he got home, his mom hugged him, but he only shrugged. His dad asked, "How was your day?" but Tyler just shook his head. No words came. Most of all, he didn't want anyone to try comforting him. He knew, all he needed was to be alone. With the quiet. With something that didn't speak, didn't ask, didn't demand. He went to his room, set down his backpack, and sat on the bed. His gaze fell on the window. The backyard. That same oak. He saw its branches swing in a light breeze. He felt this is what he needed. Not to sit in his room. Not to think about a bad day. But simply to go out there. Without saying anything, he slipped on soft sneakers, tiptoed downstairs, and stepped into the yard. At first, he just walked. With each step, the heaviness lifted. The air was warm but not stuffy. A gentle breeze touched his face. He went up to his tree, and sank into the grass at its roots. He closed his eyes and heard his own breathing. At first it was shallow, trembling exhales, as if leftover worry was still clinging to him. But after a minute his breath grew steadier. Deeper. He inhaled and smelled grass, earth, wood. He exhaled, and something heavy inside him seemed to dissolve. The tree was near. It asked no questions. It simply was. Solid, calm. Tyler lay on his back and looked up. The oak's crown swayed against the evening sky. Through the branches, the first stars began to appear. He felt the day recede. What had seemed huge and difficult now looked like just a part of life you could let go of. Just exhale. And allow yourself to be. And so he lay there. Eyes closed. Palms resting in the grass. His body gradually grew light, as if it were melting beneath the evening sky. And in that moment he understood, whatever the day may be, he would always have the night. And this place, where everything is right again. Tyler had been lying beneath the oak for a long time. He didn't know how long, maybe 15 minutes, maybe an hour. Time lost meaning here. He simply watched evening gently, softly turn into night. The air cooled. The quiet deepened. The sky darkened, more stars appearing. And the longer he lay there, the more he felt the day's tension dissolve, first in his breathing, then in his body, then in his thoughts. And at that very moment, when everything around him felt calm, clear, natural, he noticed light. At first, just one. A tiny spark at the edge of his vision. Tyler thought it was just a reflection from a streetlight. But when he turned his head, he saw another. And another. And another. Little lights began appearing in the grass. They floated upward, as if someone invisible was pressing pause on them in midair. Then they began to pulse softly. Quietly. Evenly. They were fireflies. Real ones. Living. Tiny insects with tiny lanterns inside. They rose from islands of grass, as if the night itself had woken them. And the darker it grew, the brighter their light shone. There were more and more of them. Dozens. Then hundreds. Soon it seemed the whole yard was covered in a soft, warm glow. Tyler propped himself on his elbows, mouth slightly open in wonder. He had seen fireflies before, but never so many. And not like this. Now they seemed to be putting on a show just for him. They moved slowly, glimmering green and gold. They circled gently, unrushed, as if everything around them truly was part of something magical, without words, without explanations. Tyler didn't know how to explain it. He didn't try. He just watched. The sky above him was strewn with stars. The grass around him sparkled with firefly lights. And the oak stood over it all like an ancient guardian whose roots held the world in balance. Then Tyler understood this was it. Real magic. Not the kind in fairy tales. Not the kind where objects fly and wizards wear robes. The kind that lives in nature, in the world, in you. The kind that comes quietly when you stop rushing. When you simply breathe. And listen. It's always near, but you can only see it when your heart is unhurried. In that moment Tyler felt part of something much larger. All the day's troubles, all the little hurts and unpleasant moments, were just waves. And he could become a calm harbor, if he allowed himself to. He lowered himself back into the grass and simply watched the lights. Some fireflies settled on the oak branches, turning it into a living holiday tree. Some drifted gently over his face. One tiny firefly landed on his palm and warmth bloomed inside him. Not because the insect was hot, but because this was a real wonder. He smiled. Just a little, his whole body was deeply relaxed now. In that moment, the smile wasn't joy or excitement. It was an acknowledgement. I feel good. I'm here. Now. And it's enough. The fireflies kept dancing. Night settled onto the earth. Tyler felt his eyelids grow heavy. He knew he would fall asleep right here any moment, and he wasn't afraid. Because in this place, there was everything needed for peace. Air. Tree. Earth. Sky. Light. Silence. And right before sleep fully wrapped him, he thought, maybe this is what real magic is, simply being. Noticing that the world is kinder than it seems. The fireflies continued their quiet, almost invisible performance. Tyler lay on the soft grass, and the oak, like a mighty guardian, bowed its branches over him. Everything around seemed to say, "You're home. Everything is okay." And it wasn't just a feeling, it was a truth, as obvious as warmth in your chest or calm in the air. Head stopped thinking about the day. No schoolwork, no crowded thoughts, no worry about what others might say. Everything important was happening right now, in this real, living quiet. It was a moment when what happens outside doesn't matter. And what happens inside finally becomes kind, gentle, balanced. Blades of grass tickled his back through his thin t-shirt, not annoyingly, but pleasantly. A reminder, you're on the earth. You're breathing. You're alive. And that already is a wonder. With each breath, Tyler felt space open inside him, as if where there had been clumps of hurt and worry, there was now a smooth, clear surface like a lake reflecting the stars. A breeze shifted a lock of hair on his forehead. Tyler didn't brush it away. There was nothing to fix, nothing to control. For the first time all day, he simply trusted this moment. Fully. Unconditionally. He heard a bird call in the distance. He heard the ground faintly creak beneath the paws of a small night creature. A leaf tore free from the oak, spiraled down, and landed softly nearby. No noise. No sudden motion. Just life. Real, quiet, harmonious. And somewhere in that moment Tyler realized he was happy. Not because everything was perfect, not because the world had become easier, but because he had found an island of quiet within himself. A place where he could be himself. Where no one asked him to be better or faster. Where he could simply be alive. He closed his eyes and heard his heartbeat slow. His breathing grew so deep it felt like every cell was drawing in the night's coolness and the fireflies' warmth. He felt his muscles relax, one after another. First his legs. Then his shoulders. Then his neck. His whole body seemed to say, "Thank you. You allowed us to rest." In this deep quiet he wondered, had he ever really helped himself? Not just gotten through a day, but truly cared for himself? In that moment he understood, that's what care is. Not a chocolate bar or a new game, but the ability to give yourself silence. To give yourself a pause. To give yourself forgiveness. Adults often say, be strong. Keep going. But no one teaches, learn to stop. Learn to allow yourself to be tired. Learn to simply be. And that, too, is strength. Tyler felt as if the oak leaned closer. As if its roots drew in all the heaviness head brought here, and in return gave support unseen but sturdy, like the shade of a tree on a scorching day. While the fireflies danced nearby, Tyler realized this moment was more than rest. It was his quiet victory over the noise. The triumph of kindness over clamor. He lay there, smiling softly. And he knew, tomorrow would be a new day. Maybe not perfect. Maybe difficult again. But he would always have this place. This quiet. The swaying branches overhead. And this feeling of being good to himself. And if needed, he would come back. Because even if the world doesn't get simpler, he has become stronger. Calmer. More whole. And that night, he managed to simply be. Tyler felt his thoughts grow slower and slower, like a still pond after a stone's ripples fade. He no longer thought about school or about what others might say. The days seemed to fall back. Not even leave, just dissolve, as if it had never been. Inside, only silence remained. And lightness. The kind people search for their whole lives, sometimes not noticing it's right there. The fireflies kept dancing, but Tyler didn't look at them. His eyes were closed. He only felt the soft glow beneath his eyelids in rhythm with the warmth of his breath. He breathed deeply, but automatically now. He was no longer controlling himself. He allowed himself to be as he was, tired, relaxed, alive. The night air was cool but not cold. It wrapped his body like a soft blanket that makes you feel safe. Tyler lay still, not because he was afraid to move, but because movement had become unnecessary. He didn't feel he had to go anywhere to prove anything. He simply existed in the moment. The sky above vast. The earth beneath reliable. The quiet around warm. It was a world that asked nothing of him. Only presence. He heard crickets, a melodic, repeating chime, as if someone were gently plucking the strings of a tiny harp. The sound seemed to come from another world where no one knew anxiety or pressure. Only peace. Only life moving quietly, unhurriedly. Where everything is simple. Everything is right. Above him, a light rustle. The oak branches whispered in their ancient, unknown language. Their shadows fell across Tyler's face and body, and he felt as if someone laid a hand on his shoulder, not to wake him, but to say, "I'm here. Eve got you." It was true comfort. He breathed in sync with the night. Everything seemed to breathe with him, grass, earth, tree. Even the air seemed to whisper in time, in out and out. As his body fully relaxed, he felt sleep approaching, not sudden or heavy, but like a blanket slowly, carefully pulled up over his head. The night deepened. The quiet thickened. And within that quiet was everything he needed. Tyler felt the world was bigger than people, bigger than schools and tasks. The world was the earth that holds you. The sky that listens. The silence that speaks. The peace you can find if you allow yourself to stop. Inside him, doors seemed to open. He wasn't holding on to what had carried all day. Anger, rejection, fatigue gone. They settled into the ground beneath his back. They slipped into the oak's roots. The night took them gently, as if it did so every evening. In that softness, Tyler felt sleep pulling out the last threads of strength. His head grew heavy. Thoughts slowed. The cricket song faded far away. He wasn't worried. He trusted the night completely. He knew, here, you can't fall. Here, you can only rest. Tyler exhaled softly, shivered once, felt warmth in his chest, and finally drifted into sleep. Not brief or jagged, but the real kind, peaceful, deep, almost transparent. A sleep without pictures. Only peace. Only quiet. Only rest. Even the fireflies seemed to understand. Slowly, one by one, they dimmed their tiny lights. They slipped back into the grass. And the oak's kind, enormous, leaned its branches lower, as if sheltering the boy from everything unnecessary. The whole yard fell asleep. With the world. With the child who found himself in the night's quiet. Morning didn't come suddenly, not with noise or worry. It crept in gently, like a warm blanket, softly touching light, earth, blades of grass. The first rays of sun began to slip carefully through the oak's thick leaves, touching branches, leaves, ground, waking all living things from deep night sleep. And within that living quiet, in his cozy corner, Tyler slept. He lay on the warm earth as peacefully as a child rocked by the night itself. His breathing was slow and even. His face relaxed, softened a little. Even his lips were parted, as if he were still seeing something bright and pure in his dreams and didn't want to wake. But everything in this world wakes, sooner or later. A slight movement ran through his body. A light inhale, then a slow exhale. His eyelids fluttered. He hadn't opened his eyes yet, but he already felt the world had changed. The heaviness had fallen asleep with was gone. No clumps of tension, no cold thoughts, no fears from yesterday. All of it had gone deep. dissolved into the night. Only lightness remained. When he finally opened his eyes, the world seemed to glow. Not from brightness or shine, but because everything was real. Ordinary, yet new. Light filtered between branches, making warm patches on the grass. Birds began to sing, one after another, as if someone had given an invisible cue. The fireflies were gone, but that was right. They had done their part, shown the beauty of night, and now gave way to morning. Tyler didn't sit up right away. He just lay there, absorbing the morning's quiet music. He felt his body light, as if he were made not of bones and muscle but of clear air. He smiled softly, not for anyone else, just for himself. There was something special in this morning, something that disappears when you try to catch it with words, but stays inside, deep down. He stretched, feeling a pleasant coolness under his hand. The earth still held a bit of the night's freshness. Arms, legs, everything moved easily. Tyler rose to his knees and looked around. It felt like coming home even though he had never left. He had simply found a new place inside himself. The oak above him looked majestic and old, yet more alive than before. Every ridge of bark, every mark on its trunk seemed to say, "I stand here always. I have seen evenings, nights, mornings. I've seen your calm and your worry. I'm here so you can return." And Tyler realized he wasn't the same boy who had come here last night. Something had changed. Not in the world. In him. He was quieter inside. Lighter. Truer. Is that a miracle? If it is, the miracle wasn't the fireflies, or the tree, or the stars. It was that a person had finally heard himself. He allowed himself to simply be. Because real magic isn't outside. It lives within, and awakens when it's quiet enough outside. He stood and brushed a little dust and grass from his clothes. He ran his hand across the oak's bark, as if saying goodbye, but not for long. He knew he would return. Because this place wasn't just a yard. It was a quiet answer to the question, where can you be fully yourself? Tyler turned toward the house. His mom was already waiting on the porch. She didn't scold him. She just smiled, because from his eyes she understood everything she needed to. "Did you sleep well?" she asked softly. "Yes," he answered, and it wasn't just about sleep. It was an answer about himself. And the day began. Truly. Clean. Fresh. In a new light. However it would go, Tyler knew he had something no one could take away. His island of quiet. His place. His oak. Every person has a place where they feel safe. Sometimes it's home. Sometimes it's someone's arms. And sometimes it's just a corner of nature where you can stop being someone for others and simply be. Tyler's story isn't a fairy tale about magical creatures or wonders seen only in enchanted worlds. It's a story about the greatest wonder of all, calm. Quiet within. The ability to pause, breathe deeply, and feel that you don't owe anyone anything. That you're alive. And that is enough. Tyler's yesterday was hard. He didn't handle the test. He couldn't run fast. He felt he wasn't meeting expectations, his own or anyone else's. And there are many days like that. For everyone. They come unexpectedly, tighten the chest, make you doubt yourself, the future, whether you're capable of anything good. But this story says, that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to smile all the time. You don't have to be successful every minute. The world isn't built on endless victories. It's built on quiet moments like the one Tyler had beneath the old oak, unseen, but very important. When you stop. When you let yourself exhale. When you embrace the silence. Silence doesn't frighten. It heals. It doesn't shout "be better," like noisy rooms and crowds sometimes do. It only whispers, "be yourself." And that is the most important thing. When Tyler lay beneath the oak, he wasn't expecting magic. He didn't call the fireflies. He just wanted to be himself. to admit he was tired. That he needed time. To be in a world where no one judges. Where nature simply exists and he with it. And at that very moment, magic came. The magic of letting go of everything unnecessary. The magic of understanding that all the noise is only fog that dissipates with time. That the main step toward happiness isn't struggle, but stopping. Fireflies aren't only insects with tiny lanterns. They're symbols that light can appear where you didn't expect it. Where you've almost lost faith. But only if you remain open. If you are ready to see the simple and accept it as a gift. They didn't come to tell Tyler he was better than others. They were there to show, beauty comes to places where there is peace. You can find your peace the same way, my friend. Maybe not beneath an oak. Maybe in your bed. Or on your balcony. Or simply within the quiet of your own music. Because peace isn't in places. It's inside. Every day, even the noisiest, the hardest, can end quietly. If you allow it. You can say, this is for me. Now, I breathe. Now, I'm here. And everything else can wait. Let this story be not just a tale for you, but a small doorway inward. A reminder that you, too, live in a world where there is room for light. Room for rest. Room for you. And if one day things feel heavy, close your eyes. Imagine you're lying on warm grass. That the oak above you watches over your sleep. That the fireflies are dancing. And that the sun will rise. Always. A new day will come. And you will manage. Because you are you. And that already is everything you need. Just like Tyler, whatever the day may bring, you will always have the night, and a place where no one hurries you. Where there is sky, earth, air, and you. And if you ever forget, this story will be here to remind you. Not to shout be strong, but to gently say, be. Simply be. Thank you, my friend, for listening. Thank you for being here. Now, it's time to sleep. May your sleep be warm and deep, like the earth beneath the tree. May the sounds of nature live within you like a whisper of peace. And may every morning be new. And may you remain yourself, kind, alive, honest, true.